Nicolas Jackson, yes.
Yeah.
Chelsea look like they're about to get an attacking player. He's expected to fly into London today for a medical with Chelsea. It should be completed in the coming days before formally signing, as has become the norm at Chelsea, a long-term contract. Villarreal wanted the €35 million release clause paid in full. We understand Chelsea have paid a little bit more than that because it means they can have favourable payment terms. That's their part of the deal, part of the negotiation. Villarreal are happy with that. And so he is just a medical away from joining Chelsea. I think he was quite close to joining other Premier League clubs in the past. I know he was closely linked with Bournemouth or in talks with Bournemouth in the past. But he looks like he's going to be a Chelsea player next season, subject to a medical.
It's a name we refer to pretty much most days at the moment. Mason Mount. Where do we stand this Saturday morning with him?
Mason Mount, yes. So we have the situation that Manchester United have made 3 separate bids. The latest bid, we were told, should it be rejected, United could move on to other targets. Well, that bid was rejected. It was 55 million, in the region of 55 million pounds. But Chelsea, crucially, have countered that. Although they have rejected the offer, they have come back with another possible structure of a deal for Manchester United. That's around £58 million plus £7 million of add-ons. So we're now waiting to see whether United are going to be true to their word and move on to other targets, or whether that's enough to keep them at the negotiating table. But crucially, it is still alive, and the negotiations are very much ongoing for Mason Mount. And that's the situation with him at the moment.
You know the name I'm going to mention next, because it's another name that we talk about every day at the moment, Declan Rice. Arsenal and Manchester City, we know both want the player. In terms of where this particular story goes next, what can you tell us?
Yeah, they both want the player. Manchester City, we're told, are confident of getting him. Remember, they're willing to pay £75 million plus £15 million over 2 instalments. But Arsenal remain in talks with West Ham. He has been a key target for Mikel Arteta, but West Ham holding out. In an ideal world, they are quite happy that these clubs are bidding over Declan Rice, and they would like a bidding more. It suits the selling club in this case, especially with a player the value of Declan Rice, and that is the situation. Arsenal and Manchester City appear to be front runners for him, and Arsenal very much still in the mix, we're told, but Manchester City confident of getting him.
And in terms of Kai Havertz leaving Stamford Bridge, how close are we to some kind of formal announcement?
That is close. Medical this weekend. Kai Havertz, that medical expected to take place overseas because it fits with his schedule. But the deal is agreed between Chelsea and Arsenal, around £65 million. So Kai Havertz looks likely to become an Arsenal player, again, subject to a medical, but that medical happening this weekend.
And finally, Paul, Sandro Tonali's agent says he is close to that move to Newcastle. What more do we know today?
Well, we know that personal terms are not expected to be a problem for Tonali to Newcastle, so the player keen on the move, and the fact that won't be a problem, it's really positive from a Newcastle point of view. The one thing I will say is the 2 clubs are still negotiating that final payment structure, but they are getting closer and closer to a deal being agreed for Sandro Tonali, who is a very well thought of player, young player, still only early 20s. He's away with Italy under 21s at the moment, and he's being talked about as the next Pirlo, which is not a bad tag to have.
Not a bad comparison, is it? I mean, he's a slightly different player, but that is some comparison.
Exactly. That's how well thought of he is in Italy. He's a lot of experience at international level. I know he's with the under-21s at the moment, but he's played many times for the senior team. And it's that kind of marquee signing that Newcastle and Eddie Howe want to make to allow them to compete with all the extra game time and extra competitions next season.